get this done early in the day. Wanted to talk a little bit about how to get ready for the new year, and kind of how to close out the old year, both from a planning perspective as an entrepreneur and from a accounting perspective. And so I'm really focusing on the tasks that a business owner probably needs to be, more aware of and more. A lot of the stuff that happens on the accounting side is kind of behind the scenes, and that really kind of makes things difficult as a provider of that service because most of my clients don't actually see what I do, because it is kind of a behind the scenes type of a thing. But we're going to talk a little bit about planning for the new year, and that's probably going to be the theme through the rest of the year. There's a lot that's going to be going on. I am not going to be doing any more shows this week because my kids are leaving to Mexico, and so I will be taking them down to Vegas with their dad on Wednesday afternoon. There's like a $3,000 difference in the ticket prices if I take them down to Vegas versus having them fly out to Salt Lake. It's crazy. They are spending Christmas in Mexico with their dad's family. So this is going to be a little bit of an awkward trip because their dad and I are not married anymore. But that's kind of what's going on. And it's early on Monday morning, so I'm not quite awake yet. Before I really get started on this, if you enjoy these videos, please like, share, subscribe. I would really appreciate any help, any input. If you have a topic you would like me to talk about, please comment below and let me know. I do try to put out new videos a couple of times a week, but right now I've just been doing some live ones because they're quick and easy to put up. So getting ready for the new year. Now there's two perspectives on this. One is from a planning perspective, and that's probably the one I want to talk about today. And that is, how to plan for the new year. You can either create a life, you can either have life happen to you, or you can design the life that you really want. And so I have been really focused on designing my life. I'm focused a lot on the goals that I have. Sometimes things come about in ways that are completely unexpected. I wasn't expecting to be back at Simplify My Books, although that was my goal. I wasn't really expecting it, and I certainly didn't expect it to happen the way it did. There's a lot of things that kind of, I always laugh and say, be very careful what you ask for. I've had friends ask for, large amounts of money or fairly largish amounts of money, and there was a death in the family which led to an inheritance, and they were like, that wasn't what I wanted. So I tend to be very, very specific about what I want and how I don't want it to come. So one of them was, I wanted to be back at Simplify My Books. It happened in a way that I wasn't expecting. It was still a happy way to do it. And it has worked out beautifully. I love working there. I love being a part of creating and growing the business. That's really, where I wanted to be. I kind of, I have some really fancy planners that I never use. I have this one. This is the Rituals for Living, and that's where I got some of my ideas. I also have I also work with Roger James Hamilton quite a bit. I'm doing my flow certification training with him. But where I started was actually, I start planning in October. And that's when and I know everybody right now is focused on Christmas and New Year's, and this is when resolutions are happening. As far as I'm concerned, a resolution is a to-do list for the first week of January. Nobody ever keeps them. But what I did was back in September, I wrote a letter to myself. Actually, I wrote a journal entry to myself as if it was already September of 2019 instead of 2018. Really looking forward. And I talked about everything that I wanted my life to look like. Everything from, what did my personal life look like? Was I dating anyone? Was I with anyone? What kind of relationship was I in? Where was my education at that point? What my businesses look like? I really dialed in, how big is my team? In September, October 2019. How big is my team going to be? How many clients are we going to have? How am I going to feel? Am I going to be stressed about that, or am I going to be very much at peace about that? What people do I want in my life? What people do I not want in my life? I really dialed into absolutely everything that I could think of, and I had a list of things that I was going over as well. Am I traveling as of September of next year? That's one of my plans. I want to travel as much as possible. I want to be in Europe again. I want to go to Bali. I want to go to Singapore. I want to go to Thailand. I have a lot of places that I want to go, and I really absolutely adore traveling. So why I ended up in a lifestyle that doesn't really allow that, I don't know. But I've decided that that's something that's really going to change. It's going to shift pretty hard, and everything's going to work out exactly the way I want it to. I talked about, I'll be in excellent health. I will be down to my goal weight, the weight I was in high school. And the catch to this is, as I wrote all this down, I wasn't thinking about how am I going to get from here to there. The fact is, I really don't know, but I do know where I want to be in a year. And so that was what I was focused on. As you're writing this, and this is really hard for me because I like to really dial in and say, okay, I'm gonna have this many clients. This is when I'm gonna, advertise for bookkeepers. This is what's gonna happen next. Instead of just saying, this is the outcome I want. Because to be honest, I've never had anything fall into place the way I thought it would. It's always been better. Especially on the relationship side. It's really been interesting. Once I figured out where I wanted to be in a year, I sat down again and I started thinking about a flight plan. And this is what the part that I go over all the time. I read this all the time, and then I go over my flight plan all the time. The idea of a flight plan is that when you are, if I was to take off to go to Hawaii, and I really wish I was taking off to go to Hawaii, it's cold here. The plane is not on course most of the time, but they know where they're leaving from and where they want to go and how to get there. And so even though the plane is off course, they know how to correct the course. The pilot knows how to correct the course. So you always land where you think you're going to land, and usually pretty close to on time. So you want to, as you're developing your flight plan, this is where you sit down and I break things down by quarter. I don't really think about the whole year because for me that is just too big of a chunk. People ask me, where do you plan to be 5 years from now? And I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to be tomorrow. Are you kidding me? But I do know where I want to be a year from now, and I know what to do over the next 3 months to get there. So I think, quarter by quarter. I don't really get in a lot to, to worrying about things a year from now because I am in business, and this is, just kind of how business is run. It's run by the quarter. So some of the things that I wrote down for the fourth quarter, and by the way, we've exceeded all of my goals for the quarter. I wrote down all of my goals. I presented them to Michael, who is my boss. I kind of treat him more as a partner than a boss, but he is my boss. And I told him, these are the financial goals I want to have. This is the number of team members I think we should be bringing on. This is where my focus is this quarter. This is, you know, some of the plans that I want to put in place just for this quarter. Well, now we're winding down the quarter, and I was able to sit down and go, we've met or exceeded every last one of those goals. So let's move on to the first quarter of 2019. What are my goals? And I sat down with him and said, these are my goals for the next quarter. And this is how, I've done a lot of bookkeeping clients. I want to start tipping over more towards the management side. And so it's awesome to be working with someone who's on the same page with me on all of that. But I've really focused on, you know, if as of the end of the year I'm here, then I know I'm on track. And if I'm a little bit behind, it's not the end of the world. It just means that maybe I need to adjust my goals moving forward. So that's really what I do. Like I said, I don't plan a year in advance. One of the things that I really had a hard time with the Rituals for Living book was that they wanted me to come up with 3-year goals and 5-year goals and 20-year goals. I was like, I really don't know. I love to design my life, but there are things that happen over the course of a year that completely change your life. So I was like, I can do this a year at a time and focus on a quarter at a time. And, you know, kind of have a general idea of what I want to do in the next 5 years. But if I try to go much beyond that, it feels overwhelming. So I'm not the, I love to plan, but maybe not that far in advance. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. So that's how I do my planning. I actually no longer use a planner. I write down where I want to be, and then I break that down by quarter. And then as I'm planning my week, which is usually on Monday mornings or Sunday evenings, I will then sit down and figure out, you know, what do I need to accomplish this week, and then I will time block it. The reason I like to use time blocking is that I'm very busy. I love being busy. I am very busy, and I need to have time blocked to talk to my bookkeepers. I need to have time set aside for meetings with Michael. I need to have time set aside for personal stuff. I need to have time set aside for, you know, just living. I need to have time set aside to take my kids and my ex-husband to Vegas, and so that's already been blocked. And I know when we're leaving, I know when I'm going to be back, and I know this makeup doesn't look very good on my face, or it's either that or the lighting, because I think I look like the Joker. I think it's the light. There we go. That warms it up. I think it's the outside light does not do much good. You know, I want to really, if I think about what I need to do for the quarter, that's only 3 months, it's only 12 weeks, I can break that down then by month and by week and by day. And if I block the time out, that this is the time I'm going to be working on clients, this is going to be the time that I'm recording videos, this is going to be the time that I'm going to be, you know, taking care of stuff, then it's important enough to be on my calendar, and then it's more likely to be done. And hopefully not done at 3 in the morning. Anyhow, that's just how I go about planning my days and my quarters. I know a lot of people will plan things 20 years in advance. I have a hard time planning a lot of things 20 years in advance because there's people around me that I just don't think are going to live that long, you know, starting with my parents. So I like to just plan for a shorter length of time, because it just feels like, you know how you eat an elephant, it's one bite at a time. And if I can break that elephant down into small chunks, then it's more doable for me. Your mileage may vary though. So this is just how I do it. This is not, there's so many different ways of planning. Anyway, that's it for today. And I will talk to you again soon.